Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I am spending a beautiful Veterans Day weekend in Sedona, Arizona. You can see some of the beautiful red rocks behind me, but there's not a cloud in the sky. Still not terrible. The skies are beautiful. It's early in the morning. It's about 9:30 here, and that makes for a really good time to use a polarizer. But let's talk about what to do if you just have solid blue skies like this. Is there a good way around it? I'll offer you a couple of thoughts to make those solid blue skies interesting. And I stopped at this place right here for one of those reasons. There's all kinds of stuff framing around here. There's trees on either side. There's brush with shadows right at my feet. It really invites you into the frame. And there's enough going on around it, both on either side of the red rock formation behind me, that's still going to make it interesting. So I'm going to get a couple of shots here with the trees on either side of the red rock. I think it's going to work really well. By the way, a little tip. I'm using a circular polarizer today because it's going to make those blue skies really intense. Now the sun's right here, as you can see by how my face is shaded, and the subject is over there, which means it's pretty much at 90 degrees. And at 90 degrees, your circular polarizer is at its strongest. When that happens, I generally recommend back off a little bit, because as you move left to right a little bit, the sky is going to lighten or darken depending on how that 90 degrees adjusts. So for example, how do you find 90 degrees from the sun? Well, point at the sun, stick out your thumb, and everywhere you rotate, wherever your thumb is, that's 90 degrees. Another trick, a little tip, if I'm framing here and I find my perfect polarization for that frame, but then I want to shoot a vertical, simply hold on to the front of the polarizer and then rotate the camera, and that means the polarizer will be in exactly the same position. So you won't get variations from shot to shot. So let's take a couple of shots here and see what we can get, and then we'll move on to another location. So I've walked down the trail a little bit, and I got another tip for you. Put more foreground in the shot and a little bit less sky. I'm going to minimize the sky here. You can see I've got the same rock formation actually right over there, a little bit of it. And what I'm going to do is shoot some verticals. And I'm going to include this foreground here to make it more interesting. So the other thing you can do rather than frame is to minimize the sky. And with everything else going on around it, having that little bit of sky above it is really nice. When you're framing something like this, be careful not to put your subject dead center in the frame, because that can make it look kind of static with no motion to it. Just a slight step to one side, moving that to either side can really improve the image. In this case, since we have that big tree on the one side, I found that putting that on the right and minimizing, let me say that again. Yeah, just ignore that part. Another thing you can do to make it more interesting is if you want to make the subject a little bigger, squat down. By getting down lower, that's going to compress this foreground a little bit and make the rock formation in the background a little more prominent in the frame. So again, tip number 2, shoot vertical, include a lot of foreground, and minimize the sky. Let's keep going. So again, a little further down the trail, and I'm going to do something different again. Another thing you can do when you have solid blue skies, nothing else, no clouds, nothing else to make the sky interesting, is to zoom in, get close to the subject. Got this interesting formation over here. Don't know the name of it. I'm sure they all have names. But what I typically do is I like to travel with having 2 camera bodies with me. I've got my OM5, which is my primary camera. I know it sounds like a commercial, but this is why I love the Think Tank sling bags, because I don't have to take it off. I just do this, and I can put my camera in here, and I'm going to grab my second camera body. So the other camera I brought with me is my OM5, my little compact camera, but on it, I have a 75 to 300 lens, which is a full frame equivalent of a 150 to 600 in that small little package. Great way to get closer. So I'm going to shoot some shots of that and get in nice and close and really pick out some of the details and not even worry about the sky. So let's try that. The last tip I have for you today is to embrace the blue. You got solid blue skies, go with it. There are certainly worse skies you could have to deal with than solid blue skies that are as beautiful as this. Now right behind me, actually right here, is one of Sedona's most iconic rock formations. That's called Cathedral Rock. Now most of the times this thing gets photographed from the other side. We're going to actually do that. In the afternoon, we'll head over to the other side and get some shots of it from there. But in the morning, this is the side that's lit up. Now, it's quite a hike to get close to it. If you want to hike up in these hills, you can certainly do it. But what I'm going to do is get my long lens out again and shoot it and just embrace the blue. Let's take advantage of the blue, and I'll probably end up making it more of a panoramic feel. But the blue is beautiful. It's great against the red rocks. Let's see what that brings us. All right, so some of them were a combination of zooming in close and just embracing the blue. I'm going to walk around the trail a little bit more, see if I can find some more shots that are going to be embracing the blue. But I think we've really covered a lot of what you can do when presented with solid blue skies. So there we had 4 different ideas, tips, whatever, for shooting days when you have just solid blue skies and no clouds. Oh, but wait. I just found one more thing as I was walking along the trail. So I came around the corner and there's this beautiful hill that rises up above the valley a bit, and I came across this beautiful tree. So there's one more bonus tip, what you can do when you have solid blue skies. Don't make it about the big landscape off in the distance. Find something up close that's really interesting. And in this case, I'm going to use the tree as the subject, and I'll use some of the rock formations back here kind of as a secondary, really just as a background. I'm going to get close to the tree, which is going to make it bigger in the frame and make the mountains off in the distance a little bit smaller. Now, one little tip when you're doing something like this, notice I positioned the video right here so that the tree doesn't have anything behind it. I don't want it to be distracted by having some of the rocks come actually up right through it. So I moved around a little bit left and right, and I shot both verticals and horizontals because I always like to have horizontals around, because there's one thing you can do with a horizontal that you can't do with a vertical. You can crop it as a vertical. You can't take a vertical and crop it as a horizontal. Well, you can, but it's going to get really kind of small. Sometimes it's just changing your mindset to really get the photograph that you're after. So if you got solid blue skies, just go with it and see what you can do to make it interesting. I feel myself so fortunate for being able to do photography in a place like this. I mean, look behind me everywhere. It's a beautiful forest, and the greens against the red rocks really create that complementary color vibration that just makes everything so intense. If you have never been here, highly recommend taking a visit to Sedona. By the way, just don't come here on weekends when it's nice. Other than that, weekdays, great. Thanks for joining me. See you online again soon. Bye-bye.